So my talk is about Ansible. I used to give a talk way back 2012 with regards to this topic. It won the first PyCon. So after 6 years, here I am again to present to you about the configuration management. All right. So I break down the topics into 3 parts. So basic Ansible. The second is features, and then on the last part is integration for the continuous delivery. So on that part, I'll give you an idea of how we can integrate Ansible with regards to our GitLab and how we do it on our platform in our company. Okay. So welcome again to PyCon 2018. So actually here is very simple. We have the configuration management. So supposedly we are going to define here, but I would like to give you a background as a software developer in the part of sysops or the sysadmins, and of course as part for the business. So sometimes if you could imagine you are part of that because we are developers. Some of you are sysadmins, right? A while ago, I spoke with them on the DevOps guys. And then probably the third part is for the business or for the company. So how do we shall we say it, tie them together? So if you're a software developer, you want a copy of your environment. If you are sysops, you are managing systems, managing servers. You don't want big headaches in the complexity of your infrastructure. And at the same time, for the part of the business owners or the company, you don't want downtimes for your business. You want customers to have always, to offer the service flawlessly without any problems. So you don't want to lose business. You don't want to lose customers if you're running your own systems. So this is way I will be showing you how Ansible could help us do that. So specifically the problems that we encounter when developing software is for the environment. Let's say you have development machines, you want to copy the actual staging or the production. You want to pass the same setup, the same configs with your fellow developers. And then for the sysadmins, the complexity of deploying applications, the complexity of monitoring something is missing or something config is, have a problem. So those are the feeling that I have because I previously I also worked as a sysadmin. So right here, we could simply say that configuration management is actually as simple as spinning up machines, predictably and consistently. So I just want to make sure that from dev to staging, I have the same setup. So that's all that matters. So we will run through this, how Ansible could help through that. So during those days, when I was starting with playing with my systems, like I used to write scripts, I used to bundle instance if you're using AWS. So the hard part there is duplicating it. So what if I'm going to create 1, 2, 3, or 4? So what if the system has a web server, a database, another Redis, another Memcache? So how could you be able to copy all of that into, let's say, how could you make it back to your developer's perspective, And then what if I'm going to scale my web? So my web servers, for example. So I have to make a copy of web servers. So how are you going to do that? Are you going to manually do it one by one, or are you just going to run certain scripts that would install everything? Yeah. You install Apache, then you install the config, you deploy the app. So how are you going to do that in such a way that it could create you 1 or 5 of that? So I'm looking for a tool that is very easy to use And it's very easy to read, and anybody could use it. And at the same time, I could be able to trace back the configuration that I have a while ago, or yesterday, or last 2 weeks. And then I could even share it to my fellow developers. So this is your environment setup that you're going to use for your application. So you could pass it, then I could deploy that to my dev instance, and then it's the same setup or configuration that I could also deploy to my staging. So it's almost like straightening your environment for your software deployment. So I found out that Ansible, during its infancy, way back 2012, so it is written in Python. It's a push-based configuration management, and at the same time, it's using YAML for its configuration. So it's pretty easy. So the setup is the way it works is something like this. You have a control machine. You have an access to your target servers. And at the same time, you have a list of your inventory for your target machines. This could be the IPs or the host names. And at the same time, you have there the playbooks, which is to set up those target machines. Example, if you have a playbook for your web, it should target all those web servers. If you have a DB playbook, it could target all those DB servers. So you define this in such a way that what does it do is, once you run the playbook, actually the simplest way is to push the commands going to those machines. Meaning to say you have access to that machines via SSH. So each of those machines can be format or can be created almost similar. If your playbook says it's a web, meaning you say all the configuration for the web will be the same. It is for cache, then cache server, it will be set up as a cache server. Right? So that's how simply it works. So it's using an SSH, and then you have inventory playbooks, and the rest are the target servers. Your control machines can be any of your local hosts, that has access to your target servers. The installation is very straightforward. If you are using Ubuntu, if you are using CentOS, it's just a matter of having the commands update, then yum Ansible, install Ansible, and then Ansible will install to those machines. So what happens here is that your control machines are the only one which these commands should be run. You don't need to put Ansible to your target machines, because what it does is it will just the Ansible will just SSH to that and then execute all those playbooks that you need. So that's why we term it as a push base, because other configuration management that we have is more of one example that is agent based, wherein you have to install agents for each of your target machines. But here, you only install Ansible to your control machines, which targets all of those servers that you have. So it's very straightforward. It depends on the distribution that you have for your servers. So later on, I'll show you more. But to give an example, we have it there. It's pretty straight. I don't need to explain anything. It's written in a YAML. So as you can see, the sample says it targets the local host, and then you have there the username is, of course, Ubuntu, for example. And then since if you are using Ubuntu, this distribution, normally before you install a package, Apache, for example, you have to sudo. You have the right admin rights to install the package. So you say there become true, which means become a sudo root user or something like that. So and then the task is to update. The first task is to update the repo, the app cache, and then after that install the app cache. And then on the other side, which is the inventory, which is your target files or target host, is the local host also. So these two is your requirement to run a playbook for your Ansible. And then when you run it, I mean before you run, there's also another example which says this is a DB playbook, and then my target hosts are actually web and then a DB, but at this time, because I'm running it on my local machine, so I just say connection should be local. But if you're running it on a separate server, your connection could be either SSH. All right, so that is the sample runtime of running the DB playbook. So it targets the DB machines, which is defined there a while ago on our inventory, which is, okay, so run this task. So you have the other task. The common role that we mentioned there is that these tasks actually, you could group them. Let's say, for example, I want to put all the common tasks in a common role. So let's say, for example, I want to update, and then I have to install network time protocol. So those are the common roles that you need for your servers. And then after that, you could have also a role for your database. Like, for example, MySQL. So those roles, you can group them with your specific task. Say, install the server, copy the config file, change the maximum connections for your MySQL, the InnoDB buffer cache. All of those sorts of configurations, you can define it in the specific role of your DB, or your role for your Ansible, which says it's a database role. You know. So the play recap says everything looks good. So it has completed a series of tasks, and then change is equals to 3, unreachable host is 0, and then failed task is also 0. So for right now, you try to imagine this, try to imagine yourself doing this on your local machine. And then if you are a sysop or you're a sysadmin, try to imagine that you are doing it on AWS with number of servers, or probably on Rackspace, or probably on Linux, or probably on whatever hosting you have. So you could set up a playbook for your Redis, Memcache, replicate that locally, replicate that on your staging, replicate that, or give it to your fellow developers to set up his own environment also. So right now, you see, this is more of setting up the environment, which means that the deployment of your software is a different part also. So if you can see, you could actually create also deployment playbooks later on. So right here, what I'm showing you is I am combining separate playbooks for a certain site, probably mysite.com.ph, something like that. So mysite.com.ph is composed of a web server and a database server. So I grouped that into a simple file, a YAML file, which is called site.yml. So inside that site.yml, I have the role for the web servers. I mean the playbook for the web servers, and at the same time, I have also the DB. So if I hit the servers for this, it will set up me a web servers and at the same time the database servers. So here it goes. What does the site.yml contains? So it contains the two playbook, which is shown previously. And then I just run it against my LXC host, which LXC host contains my IP of my DB and the IP of my web. So the DB playbook targets the DB host, and then at the same time the web targets the web servers also. So this part is also showing you that I could actually target different types of hosts or target inventories. So to see that, a while ago, I showed you that LXC host, I have the dev host, and then I could also have the staging host, which reuse the same playbooks right there. All right. So now let's go to deployment. It seems like this is a very serious topic for everybody. But actually, this one is very straightforward. If you are to look at the Ansible websites, it's everything is there and easy to follow. So I've shown you that those playbooks are actually just to configure the machines. So the next one is how to configure our deployment. You know? So the basic steps is just to create another set of playbook, probably a deploy playbook, and another one is to QA test your apps. So that is the steps. And then to show that, so that is how I structured it. So I have added the two files, the deploy and then the QA test. And then include this, the web, the DB, the deploy, and then the QA test YML. I included that inside my site.yaml. That way, when I run it, or to show the content of the site.yaml, it goes like that. So simply, if you are trying to look at it, okay, go set up the web, set up the DB, deploy my apps. It could be git pull, or it could be copying the WAR files to your Java containers. And then after that, you could have also QA test, which will run the testing for your application. So the QA test actually could probably be a curl request to target the APIs, and then returns whether it's okay, it's fine. So you could actually define it there depending on the complexity of your testing. So you run this on your local machine. You can run it in your staging. So it's almost the same environment. So a sample of that would be to call the site-test inside your the command Ansible playbook. So here, you have seen that Ansible is very readable. Ansible can be modifiable. Ansible, you could actually make use of a Git repository to save all your playbooks, and then you can version them, and then you could reuse the roles that you want. The roles are actually provided under Ansible gitlab-ci. So we need to say, I could grab all roles and then combine it together to form my own servers. Actually, it's not just you have before, what we do is we create our own roles. But right now, you could just copy the roles and then modify it to suit your environment. So that's the good way, because reusing it. You know. And then you can also make use of multiple roles in a specific servers, like MySQL, Memcache. You could group them and then place that as a bigger infrastructure that you need, or bigger playbooks that you want. So those are basic features or the Ansible features of the Ansible here. So after the PyCon 2012, after I presented this topic way back 2012, I spoke with Danny, one of the speakers of the PyCon 2012, and he told me, Rodney, could you please create a PyPy packaging for the Ansible? Because during that time, Ansible is very in its infancy. So I said, okay, I'll try to do that. But instead, because I'm more of a Ubuntu admin, so why not start with a PPA? So I started building a PPA during those days, 2012, and then I launched it into my own repository. So the repository is a PPA RQ Ansible /Ansible. So I maintain this repository for the Debian packaging, because during that time Ansible was so busy upgrading, adding the modules and everything and things like that. And you know, it's not very easy, because you have to for every new version of Ansible, you have to build your PPA. You upload it to your launchpad. What you do there is, I can still remember the command is dbuild-s and then dput, and then that's upload to the Ubuntu Launchpad, and then it creates a dev file for you for the newer version, and then that appears in your Launchpad PPA. So, and then after that version can be downloaded downloaded through your Ubuntu. You can add the PPA and then update and then install Ansible for that newer version. So it's very, we call it. It's not very automated, because I have to do it manually. You know, that's why here on the next part of my talk is I want to integrate automation in terms of building new softwares, creating tests, So that's the story of the PPA that I was maintaining. So I expect that the PPA will be lost after a few years because I believe that Ansible could automate this on their own. So that's why right now, if you try to look at the site, they have their own Ubuntu repository, which is owned by Ansible already. So that is a Pinoy-powered PPA for Ansible that works 2012 until 2014. So the next topic is talks about beyond the features of configuration management is how we integrate this to our continuous delivery workflow. So it's a matter of like doing the PPA manually and then automating it. But this time, it's not just about the PPA, but also for us, for the developers, for the sysops. So this is how we do it in our organization or in our company, in our small company. So we have a GitLab. Okay. Then we have the runners for the GitLab. I'm sure some of you probably using Jenkins, but in our case, we are using GitLab. So these runners are actually running Ansible. So in our case, we are using GitLab, and then we are integrating GitLab with our Ansible. So the runners are actually configured to have Ansible inside, and then what we do is we check encodes to the GitLab. And then we tag every commit. Let's say, for example, I want to tag this branch of software or these changes as deploy. So I'll just give you an overview of how it works here. Like for example, the runners actually can be set up with using the Ansible. So GitLab, the runners, and then once the code is checked in, it is being tagged as, let's say, it was committed by having a tag of deploy test, something like that. So what does it do? The runner captures that because it has the tag that says test this. So the runner runs the test stage. So the runners here are configured also by Ansible. What does it do is it tries to check the commit tag. So it makes sure that the commit tag is there for his purpose to run, and then check the branch. What branch are you running this specific deployment? And then it tries to run the job. So since we are using GitLab, we have it there. We have to use the gitlab-ci.yml, which is you incorporate with your source code. For example, for a specific web app. So some cases to compare this is it's very similar to Travis CI, wherein you define it there. What does it do when it tries to upload and then try to compile and then everything to automate the testing and then everything of your web application. The GitLab CI is composed of stages. These stages are actually jobs. So these jobs are run by the runners. So inside those jobs, you define there the commands that what's supposed to be to run by the specific runners. So you see here at the top, these are stages of our deployment. So you have first, you have the test. Next is if it's okay, if it's going good, then it will run again the next stage, which is the deploy. And then finally, if the deploy to staging is very good or has no problem, then it will deploy to prod. It will run again another deploy to prod. So the test stage or the test job is composed of scripts, which also runs Ansible playbooks. So if your runner is actually if you created your runner within your local host, simply what does it do is it tries to run the playbooks inside your own machine. So as you can see, I just reused the install Apache, the deploy, and then the QA test. So meaning to say, locally, the runners try to test your app, and then returns with series of results after the test job is good or not. So the part where it says only staging means to say you are testing the branch of your application, the staging branch, because if you are using a code repository, you have the master branch, staging branch, and then you have their development branch. So and then the tag here says that when I see a commit that says that has a tag deploy test fill up, so that's I run this series of scripts. Okay. So next is if this job is okay, then it says that I'm going to run the deploy job. So what does the deploy job contains? So the deploy job says here it's circled that it will going to run it against the staging servers. So as you notice, I just changed the inventory or the target host from localhost, and now it deploys to the staging. Because the first stage, if successful during the test, meaning to say it's run files in the local runner, then this time we deploy it to the staging part. So the same playbooks are used. It's pretty easy. It just try to look at the deploy test commit tag, and then it tries to forward everything to the staging server. So it means it tries to test the staging branch whether it's good or not. So all those playbooks are the same. You have the deploy fill up and then the QA test. And finally, the last part would be you have in there the deploy to prod. So the same playbooks, only the changes are the target machines, which is the prod machine. And then also the branch that is being described here is as long as I can see the tag deploy fill test fill up, and then it works with the master branch, meaning to say it's already final. So it will deploy this to the prod machine. So if you want to see the actual runtime or the actual dashboard, how it's being run here is that from the test on the second to the last, you can see there the test is good, passed. So it tries to build, and then finally it tries to deploy to staging. Until such time that I would run a commit again that says I tag it as fill up test, and then it will run again the test, and then if the test pass, it will deploy to staging, and then so on and so forth. So that's the way how we automate that using Ansible. I'm sure some of you are already using the same concepts, probably with a different CI, probably Jenkins or Travis or whatever. But what I'm trying to show you is this is how Ansible can automate our software development. So I should have done my PPA using this before, right? Rather than manually, having the dput, the dbuild. So that's why it ends the PPA ends way back in 2014 because of that. Because Ansible tried to automate everything. That once you have a new version, it's almost the same that they do. So I end up doing maintaining the PPA that we have for the Ansible. So that's my love story with the Ansible actually. So yeah, what is the summary of this? So you can see that the deployment is super easy. But I know that there are still many things that you have to consider because infrastructure, software development in general is pretty complex, right? So I think that's the total summary of my presentation. So my name there is Rodney. You could get the files on the GitHub/Cowboy/Vagrant Ansible. It's there. So I hope everybody, or I have imparted you some integration between continuous delivery and the tool that I've been using, configuration management tool called Ansible for today. Thank you very much. I hope you're good. So for any questions, I could answer them as the best can, but I'll be also there later on at the back if you have more questions.
Hello. I want to ask, in your Ansible setup, do you guys ever use Docker with Ansible?
Right now, actually, we are maintaining machines that are not using Docker, right? But as you can see there on the setup that we had, Ansible right now has also have its own called a tool that says Ansible container, which we could actually use do away with the Docker files and everything like that. So you can reuse the same playbooks, the same roles, and then create your Docker images. Yeah. Thank you for the
Okay,
question.
thank you.
Is there any way to roll back the script or the installation during or if the Ansible encounters an error on the target machine?
I'm sorry, again, sir. Is there anything?
Is there anything to roll back the installation or the setup done by Ansible if the Ansible encounters any error into the target machine?
Okay. So actually, the process is if you try to look at this, it depends on the procedure that your organization has. Like for example, we don't we back up the prod, right? But as much as possible, we run it against the staging. So we make sure that on the staging we capture all those well, that's a very basic. We capture all the bugs, the errors. But for the rollback, I haven't encountered it yet that we could roll it back. So as long as the playbook says do this, then there's no rollback for that. Only you can check that the playbooks are correct and executed on the target service. So it's either once the playbooks are good, it means that all the configurations are applied. That's the thing that I hope that helps. Okay.
Follow up lang. Is there any sandbox system included in the Ansible to test it if there's no rollback in the YAML file?
Okay. So for actually ang ginagawa natin, what we do is we run it on the in our case we run it on Vagrant. You know. So because on that Vagrant we run there the playbooks that we want to. So whatever the output is, you make sure that it is a pattern to your staging or to whatever you want to for your playbooks, something like that. So mahirap kasi pag dinidiretso mo siya dun sa live mo di ba? So you don't do that unless of course that you want to fix something very small. Pero pag medyo siya, we have to make sure na matetesting mo muna yung playbooks mo on your local machine. So the sandbox that you could do is probably run it on your virtual machine locally before you apply it to your final staging server. Like for example, I want to create a new box for Amazon and then perform the same playbooks. And then that's the time I deploy the new apps. I don't know I don't know much more about your current setup, whether you actually running rollbacks, yes. But probably we could discuss it more later on. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Rodney, thank you for your talk. Does it make sense to look into Ansible if we have a cloud deployment on Kubernetes or, for example, Google Cloud, GKE? So we have multiple environments running in Google Cloud. Can we use Ansible to manage our Kubernetes deployments or services and other resources?
Yeah. Actually, sir, I haven't worked with production Kubernetes right now. Yeah, to be honest with you. So I'll try to take a look at that and then follow up with you. Yeah.
Sir, question.
Yes, sir.
So, I can see that you're familiar with AWS, right?
Yes, sir.
And can you describe the difference between CloudFormation and Ansible? Because it seems that they can both automate the provisioning of servers.
Okay.
So, yeah. Can you give a short
my short review. Actually, the CloudFormation is intended for AWS, right? So what I like about now, I will give you my feedback on the Ansible. What I like about Ansible is because although it could also create the same setups, the roles, the playbooks, and everything, I could reuse that for I mean, for other cloud platform, right? So that's I think that's what I believe is the much more advantage of having Ansible, because I could switch from one provider to another reusing the same playbooks. So that's it.
Makes
So,
sense. Thanks.
Thank you for your question. Yes, sir.
Hi, Rodney. How do you ensure that roles and permissions are valid before all the scripts are executed?
So how do you make sure that the roles are valid and before the information is executed? Okay, so if you're looking at if you're just checking the servers I mean, you are validating if the server actually have this, for example, it installs Apache, it installs this file, it contains this file. Actually, Ansible can do testing like to check for if the file is present. So it's a separate playbook which says, is it really Apache installed? Something like that. That checks, is it Apache installed? Or after you run the deployment, I mean, let's say, for example, I say web server playbook, you run that, and then the next playbook that you are going to run is probably to check for if those packages that you want to install is actually right there. It's because you could create like check Apache. So app Apache is installed. So it will fail if the Apache is not installed on the same server. You run the different playbook, but this playbook just check if those files, those packages are installed on the machine. Actually, I found that also that if you're checking only for the servers, there are some tools that you could use. One is there is test infra, which what it does is it tries to check for packaging, tries to check for files, and then another one is they call it DOS, but it's more of a server-side checking, only for the packages like Apache, and then retrieve the files, the config. So you could try to check also those tools, test infra, and then at the same time the DOS, which is a Go-based application. But I hope, sir, that I answered your question. But anyway, we could talk anyway at the back later on if you still have more. I'm open to this. As I've said, I just try to give you my experience using this tool. So I'm not that perfect sysadmin, but at least I try to make it simple for our deployment. And I hope every one of us also want a very simple deployment, right? Everybody wants an easy one.